Hi everyone, I'm Sushma from Fortune Technologies. I'm a software engineer here. Okay. So in today's session, we'll be seeing about Java database connectivity. What is this Java database connectivity? In short, we call it as JDBC. So J stands for Java, DB in the sense database, and C stands for connectivity. So what does this exactly means? So you would have heard about this database. So what is database? Where we usually keep the data for every applications, whichever the applications we are using in recent times, say popular one like Instagram or YouTube, any applications that we see, they'll be having their own database. So how do we get that data from that particular database? So if we simply say, I want this data, can I get it? No, it is not like that. So mainly database, we have two different types of database as we know. One is that relational database, RDB, and the software which we use to interact with RDB is relational database management system. And the example for or the software example for RDBMS is MySQL, or we can say PostgreSQL. And though we have a NoSQL concept nowadays, like where we have a popular software like MongoDB and all, so many industries they are still working with RDBMS and as MySQL or PostgreSQL. Like if we can take an example of YouTube and all, they'll be having their data stored in the form of relational database. So, like if I want to fetch a data, I have a database which is there and I want to fetch the data from that particular database. So if I simply say I want that, I cannot. So as we know, if you want to interact with relational database, we need to know about SQL, structured query language. So only when you interact with structured query language, we can actually fetch the data, delete the data, update the data, all these things we can do. So now we cannot ask a user, whoever is using our application, to use some structured query language or ask them to learn a structured query language, isn't it? So what we can do, we have to fetch the data from the database using structured query language to our backend layer. That is where we actually write the logical part. So we have many backend languages or backend technologies. Among them, as we know, we have popular technologies like Java, Python, or if you are if you are using JavaScript, we have Node.js. They are developing a application using MERN stack and all. There will be having Node.js. So here we are considering Java because as it is one of the most popular language. Now, if I am considering Java as my server-side language or a backend language, now how am I going to connect or how am I going to fetch the data from the database to our Java program? So that is what we are going to see in JDBC. Okay. So to know about JDBC or to learn JDBC, we need to follow some steps or to fetch the data or to put the data, insert the data into the database. So we need to follow some steps. So what is JDBC is all about these steps. So the steps are like this. First thing is you need to import the packages. So you need to import some jar files like MySQL jar files if you are working with the MySQL. If it is for PostgreSQL, there will be different jar files or driver packages. There you may need to install them. And coming to the second step, you need to register or load drivers. So what is this driver here is? So suppose you have your database. Usually we will be having our database stored in a permanent storage. Say it is hard disk, permanent storage. It is stored in hard disk, and we usually run our Java program or MySQL software on RAM. Any software which will be processed or will be running on RAM. So say this is our MySQL software and this is our Java program. Now, which is the Java program which is present on the RAM and the database which is present in the hard disk should be connected now if I want to fetch the data from that. So for that we need to establish a connection. To establish that connection, we need some software. That particular software is nothing but a driver software. Okay, we'll be learning about driver software in future videos in detail. So we need to have that driver software as in Java as well as in our database. So for every different type of RDBMS, we'll be having a different driver software. So we'll be seeing which is the driver software like JDBC, ODBC, Rich. So we have native API, many. We'll be using different. There are mainly 4 types. Now, coming to this, and again, if I want to interact with the database, I'll be establishing a connection between RAM and the hard disk. And next, one more thing is, if I want to interact with the MySQL, so I need to first establish connection between our Java program and MySQL as well before establishing a connection between the hard disk and the RAM. So for this also, we need something called as driver manager. Okay, where is this driver manager present? It is present in a component called as driver, as I explained it previously. Okay, and we have a method here saying that get connection. So that is mainly useful to establish a connection between a Java program and MySQL. This driver acts as a translator between Java and the MySQL. So we will be learning in detail how to do all this process using our Java code. So going back to the steps, as I told first thing was import the packages. It is a MySQL jar files. I'll show you how to import them, how to first download them and add it to our Java project. And next thing is to register or load drivers. And then next, establish a connection as I've explained in the diagram. And next thing is create a statement. So why do we need this statement? It is just like a vehicle. If you want to have a connection between your Java program and MySQL, you are sending a query to that MySQL to fetch the data or to interact with the data. And there should be a vehicle which will carry this query. So that vehicle is nothing but a statement. We mainly have 3 types of statements which we'll be using here. One is a normal statement. The other thing is prepared statement. The other one more is call statement. So that is the next step. Which is nothing but a 4th step here to create a statement. And the 5th step here is execute the query. As we have already written the query and we have created a statement, all these things are done. Now the next thing is to execute the query. After executing the query, if we have any result set, if we are having something to be fetched from the database, that is the next step to fetch the result set. And the last part is to close the connection. It is very important when you open a connection. So as we are establishing the connection here, it is important to close that connection to avoid some data leakage, or there may be some data loss also if we are not closing the connection properly. So these are all the main steps to know JDBC or to learn JDBC. So if you ask me what are the prerequisites that I should be knowing about before learning a JDBC, the prerequisites are like you should be knowing a core Java concept where you will be having exception handling, multi-threading, all these things, and the file handling. So if you know that core Java concept along with MySQL, how to create a data, how to write a query. So these are all the things that are enough to learn about JDBC. So we have seen what are the different steps to have a JDBC. So from beginning till the connection closing. So these are the main things. If you know about these things, that is more than enough to know about JDBC. So if you want to know how to do this, how to implement this practically, please watch further videos and you can follow Fortune Cloud Technologies for next video and stay tuned. Thank you.